to see you again. Familiar faces and familiar places, why it's great to be with you again. So welcome back, welcome.
Greetings, Wildcat fans. I'm Bob.
I'm Larry. Welcome to Catnips. This is the very first episode. Let's get right to it.
All right. What do you see new for this year?
Well, what isn't new this year? We've got a new scoreboard. We've got a new fan section. The players will be facing either east or west, depending on
That's a game time decision, right?
It's a game time decision. So it's going to be based on the game. It's going to be based on the moon phases. It's going to be based on the weather. Anything goes. So it's all new. And we've also got images now of the new video board, which is up, which takes Northwestern from 96th place in the rankings of video board size all the way to 69th.
Wow, that's quite the leap.
There it is.
All right.
All right. And, everything's new. We've also got, even Num's video montage that they had last year. Let's take a quick look at that, and that'll get us psyched up for the season.
A legacy of pride, of guts, of victory and honor.
There it is. Excellent. Even they have some changes now to what they're doing on the video board. We've got a sneak peek here. Not sure how accurate that is. We'll see. We'll see this week. We'll see this Saturday.
Now, speaking of Num, we'll actually be able to hear them over on the west side now because they'll be in the east side?
We don't know that. That's another game time decision. I think it's going to depend on where the opponent's band is going to be. This is going to be all strategery.
Okay, so, all right.
We're going to find out.
And some of the students and some of the fans have been moved from the west side over to the east side.
That's right. So students will always be on the east side. Marching band depends on acoustics, depends on a lot of things. We'll find out. They're not telling us everything yet.
And they're basically trying to get some more purple on the east side of the stands so it looks better on TV. Was that the rationale?
Yeah, I think what they want to do is they want to, TV usually shows only the east side, which seats about 70, 80 people. They want to make sure that those stands are full of purple. So we're going to have all the students on the east this year.
All right.
First time ever. You look at the old, the initial Dyche Stadium, even going before Dyche Stadium, the old Northwestern Field photos. That's maybe the first time we've ever had students on the other side.
Wow.
So we'll see.
So speaking of Dyche Stadium, there was a little bit of history that we thought we'd talk about today. Some of you older fans, of course, will remember this, but for some of the younger fans, it might be a first exposure. But not unlike the Cubs, who are operating under a curse, and let's hope this is not going to be that powerful, because that one's worked for over 100 years now. The Cats are playing under the curse, specifically what is known as the Dyche Curse. And I guess the origins of that were when Dyche Stadium at the end of the 1996 season was rehabbed at great expense, and with the vast majority of that expense borne by Pat Ryan. The university renamed the place Ryan Field without really consulting any of the members of the Dyche family, and in contravention of a Board of Trustees resolution, which back in 1926 had named the stadium Dyche Stadium.
The stadium, the field.
In perpetuity.
Any further stadiums forever. So if they tore down Dyche Stadium and they build a new stadium, it's going to be Dyche Stadium.
So there was some controversy back then, although I think a lot of us who actually went to the stadium were really grateful that Pat Ryan had been able to donate the money that he donated, because it was a lot more comfortable in the creature comforts, let's face it, after that renovation. But George Perez took offense. Now, who was George Perez? George Perez was a former sports information director, or they call them SIDs in the trade. For Northwestern, back in, I think, the late 60s or the 50s sometime.
Late 60s, early 70s, I think.
Late 60s, early 70s. And in fact, George Perez has been a contributor to opinion on this website, HailToPurple.com.
We may link that here. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. All right.
All right. Anyway, George Perez took umbrage to this, and he showed up in the parking lot of now Ryan Field, no longer Dyche Stadium, and he plucked the petals off a rose and uttered the curse that the Wildcats will not return to the Rose Bowl until the Dyche name is restored.
I think we have some footage of that right now. Mr. Perez looks a little younger there, but clearly that was the beginning of the curse.
So the curse was made. It generated a lot of publicity, which was probably George Perez's intent. And then a funny thing happened a few years later. The Wildcats were on a roll in 2000 and looked like they had a reasonable shot at the Big Ten title. And in fact, after winning the Instant Classic against Michigan, 54-51, they were in the catbird seat for that title. And all they had to do was go out to Iowa and beat Iowa, come back home and beat Illinois, and they were there. And I don't think Iowa had won a Big Ten game in 2 years at that point. George Perez revoked, or so he thought, his curse. And he was very public about it, but I think what Mr. Perez discovered is what you'll find if you do some research into curses, is that they're much more easily made than they are lifted. And sure enough, the Dyche Curse reared its ugly head and bit the Cats out in Iowa when they lost a game that they clearly should have won. In doing so, they wound up as co-champions in the Big Ten, along with Purdue and Michigan, as opposed to sole champions and the standard bearer for the Big Ten at the Rose Bowl.
Some people may attribute that loss to Iowa to other things. We prefer to think of it as the curse.
As the curse. So this is now year 17 of the Dyche Curse. Let's hope it has limited duration, maybe only 16 years, and we can prove it all wrong here. Although I think this year it'd be tough for the Cats to get to the title, or to the Rose Bowl game, given that it's going to take more than a Big Ten title to get.
I think if it comes close, we'll probably have to try another attempt at removing this curse during catnips. So look forward to that. Look forward to pulling off more rose petals, maybe some chicken bones, anything it takes to relieve this curse.
The blood of the martyrs commands you.
Maybe we have to bring Mr. Perez back here and get him to work harder at it.
It's a challenge. Let's do it.
All right. Now we want to take a look at the season ahead. I think there's a lot to be excited about. This is a very similar schedule to last year's, with the exception that we've picked up Wisconsin now that they've moved into the Western Division, and we'll be playing them every year, which I know makes a lot of people happy because, let's face it, some of the most entertaining games we've seen over the years at Ryan Field have been against the Badgers.
I like the new divisions. I mean, the new divisions, it's the set of our traditional rivals. We've got Minnesota, we've got Wisconsin, we've got Purdue, Illinois. These are folks who we've been playing for over 100 years. So I'm happy about it.
All right, I am too. Now, non-conference slate. We've got Cal, NIU, and Western Illinois coming up in September, and then our fourth non-conference game has been deferred out into November against Notre Dame. So Cat fans are pretty optimistic about the first three games of the non-conference slate, Cal, NIU, and WIU, and I think most of them are assuming that we're going to win all three of them. I think where I'm interested is NIU, Northern Illinois University. Last time they came here was in 2005. We are 6-0-1 against them lifetime for the series, so they've yet to come into Evanston and win a game. But they came very, very close back in 2005.
They went for two.
They went for two, didn't make it in overtime, and that was the difference. The previous time that they came was in 2000 for the opener on Labor Day weekend. We beat them, And that set up ultimately a title run for us in 2000, and that win in 2005 augured for the last time we really had a legitimate title run in the Big Ten in the 2005 season. So I'm personally going to guess that if we get a win over the Huskies, there might be a little magic that comes off that.
I think that's going to be a big win. I'd say not so fast, unfortunately. I think that's going to be a tough game. I would say right now we might be lucky to win that game. In fact, I would call it as a loss right now.
I did get a tip from a longtime observer of the Wildcat program yesterday. He told me to watch that Western Illinois game very carefully. He said, if you see us struggling against Western Illinois, look out, we're in big trouble.
A la Maine last year.
A la Maine last year, yes, exactly. We come up the next two games, the Big Ten opener at Penn State and our Big Ten home opener against Wisconsin. And I think this is where we start getting into some of the Big Ten statistics for Northwestern in the Pat Fitzgerald era. Right now, Pat Fitzgerald coached Northwestern teams in the first two games of the Big Ten campaign are 4-12. And I think an optimistic outcome here would be we win one of these, we lose one of these, so we kind of go 1-1 in the first two games.
I'm pessimistic about Northern Illinois. I'm optimistic about these first two games. I think we have an excellent shot at beating both Penn State and Wisconsin.
All right.
That'll be my moment of optimism during our 2014 prognostication. I think we've got a great shot against these two teams. I think the home team, when we play Wisconsin, has a clear edge over the last decade. I think Penn State has some issues right now, and it's going to take them a while to work these out. A lot of people are saying they might start strong this year and get weaker as their depth is exposed. I think it might be the opposite. I think they might have a tough start, and I think the Cats are going to give them all they can handle.
I remember the Cats giving them all they can handle and taking a 21-0 lead up there in Happy Valley, and then something happens to the play calling.
You shall not pass!
I hope you're right. But history is on the side of probably a split verdict in those first two. Next three games, you've got away games at Minnesota and Iowa. I think anytime you can win a Big Ten game on the road, it's significant. Both of these schools look to be improving as opposed to on the way down. I think one win out of those two would be good. And in between, we've got homecoming against Nebraska. I know we've lost the last two to Nebraska. We won the previous one. All those games have been pretty evenly matched. I think we're probably due to come up the winner and kind of even that series out.
I agree, actually. I think Nebraska, we've got a good shot at being homecoming. And especially after we're licking our wounds from a potential loss on the road at Minnesota. I think that's a landmine game for us. I actually think we may lose at Minnesota and come back and actually shock Nebraska at home.
Okay.
And then Iowa, I think it's going to be incredibly strong this year. I think we lose at Iowa.
Okay. We follow up with a couple of tough ones, Michigan and Notre Dame. I'm hoping the Cats have finished finding new and interesting ways to lose to Michigan, but I'm not sure. That bag of tricks may not have been depleted yet. And I think the Cats have a chance at taking a win up in Notre Dame with an overrated team that may be more overrated than we're banged up at that point.
And a lot of their fans are getting frustrated. This may be a make or break year for Brady Hoke. I'm sorry, prove me wrong. I think both these games are potential losses for the Cats. I have them penciled right now as loss for both Michigan and for Notre Dame. I hope I'm wrong.
All right. Season finishes up with a road game at Purdue and a home game against Illinois. I think the Cats win both of those. I think they win against Notre Dame. I think they've actually got 3 games, a 3-game winning streak at the end. But you never know.
Yeah, Purdue. I think we're agreed there. I'd be pretty surprised if we lose to Purdue at this point. And then Illinois is a toss-up, honestly. Illinois has an influx of talent from junior colleges. Coach Beckman has decided to go the JUCO route, and so it's kind of a mixed bag with Illinois. I think it could go either way. I think if we lose that game, we go 6-6. We win, we go 7-5. It's going to be a critical game at the end of the year.
All right. Is it time for potables?
Let's do it. It's time for potables.
So with potables, what are we doing here? We're giving you potable prognostications. We're going to be tasting various wines over the course of the season, or other potables besides wine. And based on that, we're going to give you a read on what we think is coming and prognosticating the game. So today, we've got California Cabernets. Larry's got the Berkeley vintage, and I have the Sonoma vintage. So why don't we, without any further ado, sample and see what comes out.
Cheers. Here's to Dyche Curse.
Oh dear. Oh my God. This is heavily hyped, and very, very unbalanced. It screams. It screams like a naughty boy about to get a major league spanking, and it has a really rough aftertaste, kind of like, I hate to say it, but maybe rancid bear meat.
It's definitely a wine. It's a high-pitched wine. It's an uncomfortable wine. The Berkeley vintage is ranked number 116 in the country by Paul Meyerberg for this year. That may be ranked a little low, but let me tell you, it's a little rough around the edges. Sonny Dykes, this is his second year. It may be another Dyche Curse we're seeing out in Berkeley, and this high-pitched wine may be cursed as well.
All right.
So, one other thing we want to mention here, Cal last year had given up more points than any other team in the FBS outside of Idaho.
Wow.
And I've heard Idaho's even better this year. So, Cal, look out, Cal.
Sparkling Muscatel, one of the finest wines of Idaho.
The other thing to note with Cal is that in the off season, much like Illinois, Cal has also had an influx of JUCOs. So Sonny Dykes have brought in junior college players to shore up some of the deficiencies in defense. So another thing to look out for with the spare team.
So the Cats aren't going to have a lot of film on these guys to practice against.
Not unless they've looked at Sunnydale Junior College and Technical Emporium. Yeah. Right. So there'll be a mystery.
Well, should make for a more interesting game then.
Indeed.
All right. So based on this, I'm going to say Cats really rip loose and beat them by 21, and there's a chance that ABC could be cutting away from the game in the second half because it's out of reach.
Let's hope. 35-13 Northwestern wins. Enjoy the wine and enjoy the game.
And as always, go Cats.